Welcome, dear viewers. The topic of this lecture is Ethnomethodology, Distinctive Features, and discussion on Harold Garfinkle. Ethnomethodology, an introduction, just to understand the base of it. It reflects phenomenology and is strongly connected to it as a social way adopted by members by society, of society. Now, if we go back to, you can have a reference to the earlier lecture recorded on phenomenology. In phenomenology, we understand that we have come to know that social reality is a result of people giving it meaning, or people assuming it to be like that, or people giving meaning to the social actions around them, to the situations around them. Ethnomethodology is an extension of that understanding of human behavior. It reflects phenomenology and is strongly connected to it. It is a detailed research into social life, and it presents more than that of phenomenology, in-depth analysis of human options to interpret and visualize the social world. Now, we have to understand that it is, of course, quite similar to what phenomenology says, but it is an extension to what they believe in, to what they explain, to what they think about social situations, and to what they think about human capacity to understand a particular situation. Phenomenology was one thing, and now it is ethnomethodology. Ethnomethodology studies the methods members use to construct, account for, and give meaning to the social world. In phenomenology, we understand that members give meaning to the social world. But in case of ethnomethodology, we have multiple things to understand. First of all, what are the ways the members use to construct the social world? How do we construct it? How do we make it happen? How do we make it believed? What are the ways we are using to understand that there is a social construct in front of us? Then, next is the members, the ways which members use to account for it. Once we use some methods to construct a reality. Secondly, what we do is we stand accountable for it. We account for it. We have answers for it. We have logics for it. And then give meaning to the social world. This is what phenomenology says, that give meaning to social world is the understanding done by ethnomethodology and phenomenology. But in ethnomethodology, we also understand what are the ways used by members of society to construct that reality, to construct that social world, and how do they stand accounted for it. Now, it is a step ahead of phenomenological studies. In phenomenology, there is an attempt to make sense of the world and give it a meaning, but in ethnomethodology, there is an attempt to account for the constructed meaning too. We try to understand that whatever meaning has been given to the social reality, to the social world, what is that meaning? How has it come out? Distinctive features now, it studies the methods people use to construct, account for, and give meaning to social world. It reflects Alfred Schut's views by stating that there is as such no real life order. There is as such no real life social order, but it appears so to the members while they try to give it a meaning and construct it with their senses based methods. Very technical thing to understand. Schutz is the popular name in phenomenology, and we have to refer him here too. He says, or other ethnomethodologists, phenomenologists, even they say that social life order, the social reality, does not actually exist like a destination, does not actually exist like a wall, like a room, like a building. It is believed that it is existing. And the methods people use to believe that there is a social reality existing in front of them is what we call as the subject matter of these branches of sociology. According to ethnomethodology, social life appears orderly to members of society only because members actively engage in making sense of the social life. Very important thing to understand again. Social life is there. We give it a meaning. We understand it is existing. We understand it as a social construct. But now we have to understand that why does it believe orderly to us? Why does it look like orderly or balanced or stable to us? Because the members actively engage in making sense of the social life that way. We want to believe that it is an order, situation, it is an ordered atmosphere, it is an ordered condition. That is why it becomes to be, or it seems to be, an ordered one. Ethnomethodology states that the societies reflect an ordered pattern since the members perceive in this way. Societies are ordered or not ordered. This is not the question here. The content to understand the cardinal process, the cardinal understanding of this particular branch of sociology is to state that the ordered society appears to be ordered because the members perceive it this way. We perceive it in a way that there is an order in society and hence the order exists. Hence the order gets visible because it is believed this way by the members that the order exists. That's what we discussed right now. It focuses that the social order is a convenient fiction. It quietly like seems to be a very technical term. Convenient fiction. One is fiction, other is convenient fiction. Fiction is something which is actually not having a proof of existence, where you cannot show the concrete things that, see, this is the hand, this is the face, this is the body, these are the shoulders. We can't show anything, but firmly we believe that it exists. So this is fiction. Now, ethnomethodologists say that existence of the ordered social order or ordered social reality is a convenient fiction. Convenient fiction because the members of society want to believe in it or want to believe it in this particular way, and they make it believe in this particular way. They make the things believe constructed. They make the things believed happening. So this is why they call it as a convenient fiction. The appearance of the social world itself allows it ready and set for being accounted and explained for. Whatever ways we use to see the appearance of the social order, they themselves become the instrument to understand or to make the people enabled to account for it. Zimmerman and Wader, popular names in ethnomethodology, or we can say popular references to understand the concept, they add that ethnomethodology explains how members of the society go about the task of seeing, describing, and explaining the order in the world in which they live. Zimmerman and Wader, they say that there are some ways, there are some methods, there are some technologies, there are some techniques which members of society use for what? Number one, to see. Number two, to explain the order, to describe the order of the world in which they live in. Order is there or not, again, this is secondary for them. But what they believe to explain priority as a priority, or first of all, is that the order is there because people see it this way and people have ways to explain and describe how does the order exist or how does the order seem to be existing to them. In nutshell, ethnomethodology conducts investigations as to what techniques are used by members to achieve the appearance of the order. Now, finally, after understanding or discussing the distinctive features of this branch of sociology, we have come to understand that the order appears because the social members use particular ways to make it appear. Hence, ethnomethodology believes in or works on the investigations as to what techniques are used by the members of society to make this appearance of the order achieved. Harold Garfinkle, the most popular name when it comes to ethnomethodological studies. He is the person who is connected with this particular branch of sociology and very popularly known as the main name in this particular branch of sociology or fields. The members use, he has talked about documentary method. We'll focus on this to understand ethnomethodology even better and even more. He says the members use documentary method to make sense of and account for the social world and to give appearance of the order, appearance to the order. Now we have understood till this particular point that the social order exists because the members use particular ways to make it believe that order exists and then to stand for or account for its existence and also to explain and to describe how does that order exists, right? Then Garfinkel says that all this is done with the help of documentary method. Documentary method is very technical method to be understood here, and I'll try to describe that so that you're able to understand what it implies. Documentary method consists of selecting certain aspects out of the infinite number of features of the situation. We'll take a pause here and try to understand this particular part of this method. Documentary method consists of selecting, first of all, the capacity of members of people is understood as to how do they select particular features from the whole range of features in social order out of the infinite number of features of the situation. In documentary method, what people do, they select, they opt out few particular features out of the totality of availability of the features of a particular situation and defining them in a particular way. First of all, we select what do we want to select is totally done by members of society. Then after selecting the particular features, the members try to define them in a particular way. They define them, they explain them, they give it a meaning. They tell that yes, this is what we understand by it. So they account for it and seeing them as an evidence of the underlying pattern. What do we underline? What is very prominent to us, which seems very important to us. Now, if you understand again, going back to the beginning of the documentary method, members of society select few features, select some features out of the total range. When we are selecting the features, that is already enabling us, or that is already, we can say, focusing or encompassing us or pressurizing us, or you can say forcibly making us to understand that those are the underlined patterns. Hence, what happens is, first of all, we select certain aspects of the society of the condition out of the totally available infinite number of features, and then we try to define them in a particular way, and then we see them as the evidence of the underlying pattern. Underlying pattern means what are the most important patterns, what are the most important credentials of a social order to be understood. The process is then reversed and the underlying patterns are used as evidence of the existence of the whole pattern. Now, this is a smart move, academically, a very smart move to make us understand what actually is documenting, what actually is documentation, or what actually is documentary method. What happens is, first, we selected some features, we explained them, we used them, and then we constructed some underlined patterns. One step. Now we will reverse. Now, in the first step, what we did was, we tried to understand the main whole, the composite whole to create underlying pattern. But in second reversal situation, or in the second step, when we reverse the situation, we use the underlying patterns to understand the whole. So first of all, we are taking help of understanding or using the features of the whole to create an underlying pattern, and then we are using the underlying pattern to understand or to explain or to describe or to account for the whole. It is important here right now to explain. We are going to use example of Atkinson's study of coroners. The study about the ways coroners record and interpret death and suicide of the regions assigned to them. Coroners' common sense make this happen. They use documentary method to understand death and suicide in relation to each other. Now, coroners are the people who are given official or unofficial tasks to understand or to record or to maintain the death records of a particular region. Now, Atkinson says, to explain documentary method, he explains that out of the total deaths, there are some suicides. So while using a documentary method, to understand this particular pattern or these two things, in the first step of documentary method, the society as a whole, the deaths as whole will be taken as infinite whole, out of which the number of people who have committed suicide, they'll be taken, selected, and then underlined pattern of suicide will be explained. Now what we are doing is, we are using the total nature and total number of deaths happening in the region to understand the underlying pattern of suicides. In the second step, what documentary method does is reverse the order. Reverse the order means now the underlying pattern, that means suicides, will be taken to refer back to or to explain back what deaths or what kind of deaths have been in the region and what were the factors behind them, what were the conditions and situations behind them. So in documentary method, as per the example or theory given by Atkinson's study on death and suicide, we understand that in first pattern, we use the whole to understand the underlying pattern, and in the reversal order, the reversing state, we use the underlying pattern, vice versa, to understand the whole. According to Garfinkle, the social life is essentially reflexive, and also the documentary method is reflexive in nature and application both. Garfinkel says that social life is very reflexive. Reflection means effect of one part on the other, effect of the other part on the previous and rest of the others. So he says that social life is reflexive. So is the documentary method. We have understood till now that in documentary method, the whole reflects through the underlying pattern, and the underlying patterns are reflected through the whole. So reflexivity is there in society. Reflexivity is actually used as technique to explain the composition of ethnomethodology through documentary method, and hence documentary method, according to Garfinkel, is reflexive both in nature and also in application. Means whenever we will try to use documentary method to understand a social phenomena, we will automatically use reflexivity to understand the underlying patterns and the infinite whole. Reflexivity implies that the members of society see particular activities and situations in terms of presumed underlying patterns, and in turn confirm the existence of those patterns by referring to particular expression of those patterns in the activities and situation. This is what reflexivity is. That first, we will try to use the whole composition of the total social setup to understand or to create underlying patterns by selecting particular features out of the infinite number of features. And then we will use the underlying pattern to explain what the whole has been through, what the whole actually is, what the whole actually is described like. In conclusion of this particular topic, we have to mention a few things again. There is connectivity between members' ability to construct the social reality and the social order existing therein. We have to accept and understand and explain or interpret it again very wisely, very basically, that there is a very strong connection, there is a very strong connectivity between the members' ability to construct the social reality and the actual existence of the social order. We have learned in ethnomethodology and also in phenomenology that the social order exists because of the abilities of the members to give meaning to it, to construct it, and to believe that it actually exists. People observe the order which they themselves constructed and also be responsible and accountable for their construction. They first of all say that yes, we have selected some ways, we have used some ways, we have used some modes to construct the social order. Then when they construct it, they stand for it, they account for it. Yes, this is what we say we believe in. And then they also explain the construction. The whole and its particular parts correspond to each other and also help each other to be explained. Very important thing to understand is, let it be a small part of the social order, or let it be the social part as a whole, social order as a whole. Both of them correspond to each other for explanation, for existence and interpretation. The parts of social order explain what the whole is. The whole helps us to understand, explain, and interpret what the parts are. Neither the whole is solely inevitable, nor the parts hold the legacy of forming the whole, but both reflect each other. That's reflexivity of the documentary methods which members use to interpret the social reality. There are some very important references which we can refer to while studying theories specifically on methodology and phenology. Francis Abraham's book, Baltimore, Ruth and Ellison, Harulimbus, both the editions you can have. So try to read it. Best of luck. God bless you all. See you soon.